Okay, so hi everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about asymptotic analysis. Okay, so assuming that you are given a certain problem, okay, and then you are asked to implement that program in C. So all of us have a different thinking. All of us will have a different approach to solving a certain problem. So how do we know which of these solutions are correct or which one of these solutions are efficient? And one way to do that is by measuring the amount of resources that a certain solution or algorithm consumes. And two of the most common way to assess is the running time as well as the memory resources. Okay, what about the running time? So from what we have discussed before, an algorithm is a set of procedures of steps that will convert a set of inputs into a set of outputs. Okay, and an algorithm will have, when executed, will have some running time. Okay, and we all know that the running time of an algorithm will also grow with the input size. So for example, if you have an algorithm and you try to run it with a 10-element array versus a 10,000 element array, which do you think will run faster? Of course, that one with only a 10-element array. Okay, so now in the previous videos, we had discussed the three views: the pessimistic, the average, as well as the optimistic na view. So in the average case time, so it accepts the average case na input also, but this is very difficult to determine, and it's hard to define average is, what average is. Okay, so in this case, we are going to focus on the pessimistic na view, which is the worst case na running time, which accepts the worst possible na inputs because it is much easier to analyze, and it also reduces some risk. Okay, so compared to the optimistic view or the best case, which accepts only the trivial cases and meaningless when analyzing the algorithm. Okay, so this is just a sample graph. So as you can see here in the x-axis is the input size. And as the input size grows, let's say compared to 1,000 versus 4,000 input size, you can see that the running time in input size 4,000 is so much bigger. And another comparison here is between the best case, the average, as well as the worst case. And you can see that the worst case will often have the biggest running time compared to the best and then the average. Okay, now what about the asymptotic na analysis? So last time, we discussed about the RAM model, but it is very tedious to count every time step. Okay, so we need to have some way for us to analyze the size of a certain function of a certain algorithm. Okay, what is asymptotic na analysis? So asymptotic na analysis is a way to describe the behavior of functions in the limit. Okay, so what is this? Mom, I don't understand what that means. Okay, let me continue. So analysis, asymptotic na analysis is a method for us to analyze the efficiency of an algorithm in terms of how the running time scales with the input size. So it will give us or provide us a way to understand the behavior of an algorithm as the input size approaches infinity. So as the input size grows bigger and bigger, how does the algorithm behave? Okay, and that is asymptotic na analysis. So essentially, we focus on what's important by abstracting lower order terms as well as the constant factor. So does this ring a bell to you? So this is just a big O na notation, right? Last time. But there are also other notations that we can make use of, which I will discuss later. Okay, so asymptotic analysis, again, is a way for us to compare the sizes of the function, particularly when the input size approaches infinity. So let's quickly go back to something that we have discussed last time. So we have here an example of two functions, n cubed plus 2n squared, and then 100n squared plus 1000. Okay, we can see the graphs here. So what the graph of the running time as the input size is growing. Okay, so the red line is the n cube, and then the blue line is the n squared. So we already know that the n squared is faster because we have already discussed this, right? But if we see here in the graph, let's say on the inputs before 100, on the input size less than 100, we can actually see that the n squared is much, much slower compared to n cube, right? The red line is the n cube. So as you can see, the running time of n cube is lesser compared to that of the n cube. Now, after some time, as it approaches infinity, after some input, we can already see a different trend. We can see that the n square, that the n cube, I mean, this red line, grows bigger and bigger and bigger compared to the n squared. As you can see, the gap between the two. Okay, so this is just one way for us to look at the efficiency of an algorithm as it approaches infinity, as the input size grows larger and larger. And we do that by using asymptotic na analysis. Okay, you understand? I hope you do. So when we study algorithms, we are interested in characterizing them according to their efficiency, and we are usually interested in the order of growth of the running time and not in the exact running time, because as you know, there will be different implementations, there will be a lot um, of restrictions, and it's very tedious to count every time step. So we are only interested in the most important detail, and we just want to see that order of growth of the running time, not the exact one. So this is also referred to as the asymptotic na running time. So we need to find some way to talk about the rate of growth of functions so that we can also compare our algorithm. So the asymptotic notation will give us a method for classifying functions according to their rate of growth. So now let's move on. So the first notation, asymptotic notation that we have is something that you are already familiar with, and that is the big O notation. So assuming that we have a graph here, okay, I'll just discuss this in the next video.